Wrong question. In a news article published in the Sydney Morning Herald on June 6, 2020, under the title, "Is it about time we stopped paying tax?" by Andrew Macken, Modern Monetary Theory, MMT, asks the wrong question. They ask why, if the central banks can create infinite money, which they can, we need to pay taxes. The answer is simple. We pay taxes to pay off our debts. The real question is, why is all the money we create created as debt? That modern money is now created by banks in cyberspace as a debt to themselves is a given. MMT, it seems, believe that all money must be created as debt. It must be the property of some entity that owns it, and okay, you can have it for a while, but you don't ever really own it, and ultimately there must always be an outstanding claim that you give it back. There is no such thing as a free feed, except if you're part of the banking system, and then it is okay. So it is not ultimately about taxes, but rather about debt. So why and in what circumstances do we need debt? The only justifiable basis for debt is in financing production. If industry borrows, makes a claim upon the public credit, to build a product, money measures not only the value of the product, but also the value of all consumables, raw materials, energy, labour, and so forth, used up in the process. If in time the loan can be repaid, this confirms efficiency, profitability, and determines that more value has been produced than has been consumed in its productive process. Issuing debt for consumption is of another order. It says that if there is insufficient purchasing power in the hands of the public to consume the product of their efforts, we can fix it with debt. Quite so. But this compounds the consumer money deficiency in the next production cycle. Oh dear. The answer? Why, of course, more debt. So the total indebtedness of the world is now about $250 trillion. Almost none of this debt was actually due to the enabling of production. No one can produce anything from that which is not at the moment existent. One can't turn a water wheel with next year's flood, or fire a furnace with unmined coal. Debt is not possible in the physical world. If it is not there, it is not there. The only manufacturer of debt is the human mind and will. So, we've achieved a total of $250 trillion in debt because we have no concept of anti-debt. Money, like electricity, can carry a positive or a negative charge. President Lincoln's greenbacks were not created as a debt. They were printed for the cost of the paper, and the American people never had to pay them off. They were an anti-debt money, and we can still produce this form of money if it is policy to do so. For 10,000 years, men saw and thought of matter only as matter. Then, about 100 years ago, the existence of antimatter was conceived, and antimatter has since been identified in very small amounts. In theoretical physics, matter and antimatter have particles of identical mass but have the opposite electrical charge. While a proton has positive charge, an antiproton has a negative one. Collisions between matter and antimatter particles result in their mutual annihilation. Credit, properly so called, annihilates debt. Nothing else can do this. MMT can ask, why so much tax? But why must all money be born as debt is a bridge too far for such modern monetary theorists. The article says, government can issue an infinite amount of debt and cannot default because they can always print more money to repay their debts. This comes down to one of two things. Government can take on more new debt to repay old debts. The debt amount is then the same. If government can create money that is not debt to repay their debts, there's no point in the debt in the first place. They might as well have created the debt-free money at the outset and have done with it.